Welcome to Ethos Effect Podcast.
Welcome to the Ethos Effect Podcast. After building and learning from failures,
We discovered our ethos and leveraged it
to scale, sell, and build again our seven-figure businesses.
whether you're starting out or leveling up.
This podcast is your source for innovation and lasting impact.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. My name again is Jeffrey Davis. I continue to interview entrepreneurs and leaders about different businesses in this economy. It's all very interesting to see real time and hear real time how people are dealing and growing their companies. Our next guest is Chelsea Ryckis, and she is president and founder of Ethos Benefits. Welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeffrey. Excited to be here.
Great. Why don't you first tell us about the company, and then we'll get into a little background about you.
Absolutely. So Ethos Benefits, we're a benefits consulting firm, and we work with mid to large employers nationwide on solving a huge problem for them, which is their rising costs of healthcare. And unfortunately, businesses across this country have been told a big lie for many years. And the big lie has come from insurance companies, from their brokers, from hospitals, from pharmacies. And there's nothing you can do to control the cost of your healthcare. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's simply not true. And I'm happy to go into that a little bit later. But we essentially are dismantling this big lie that's kind of kept American businesses paralyzed and accepting these double-digit increases year after year.
Well, speaking as an owner, not just as a consultant, I'm an owner of a small business. The most out of control cost in my business is healthcare.
Healthcare. Yeah.
Yeah. And
not surprised.
And mine has doubled in the last couple of years, and my partner cannot understand why. Maybe you can give us a little bit more of a look under the hood, how you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about the healthcare supply chain, right? So let's think hospitals, insurance companies, we've got providers, we've got pharmacy, and we've got brokers. And let me clarify when I say brokers. So brokers are generally, and I'm sure you work with one, right? Somebody who's coming to your business and they're showing you different options every single year. The way that traditional brokers are paid, this is problem number one with why costs continue to rise, because it's the same pattern that just perpetuates through the system. But essentially, traditional brokers are paid a commission. So if your premium is $1 million this year and next year it's 1.5 million, they're making a commission on that extra 500,000. There's no reason that you should be paying somebody more when you are losing as a business, right? Like think about all your other vendor contracts. Why in the world would you settle for that? So when you take a look so that's just misalignment number one. If you look at the way that hospitals are paid, insurance companies, they're responsible to their shareholders. Who wakes up in the morning saying, I want to reduce revenue, right? Your premium is an insurance company's revenue. They don't have incentives to reduce your premium. They have incentives to increase it and make their shareholders happy. So unfortunately, when you look at the entire supply chain, the hospitals, the brokers, the insurance companies, the pharmacies, when employers pay more, they make more. So why in the world would we think that your costs are going to go down, right? So the way that you combat that is you need to essentially remove all these misaligned incentives. So number one, the easiest place to start is don't pay your broker more when you pay more, right? They should be working for a flat fee, the same way that you work with any other consultant. And that's kind of the difference between, I'd say, Ethos Benefits and the majority of brokerages is we don't accept commission. We strictly work on a flat fee. We consider ourselves fiduciary advisors. We don't win when our clients lose. So that's number one. Look for arrangements where you can remove misaligned incentives and compensation when the company's losing. So paying your broker like you pay your attorney, like you pay your CPA, right? That's the easiest one. One place to start.
Well, it's all very interesting. And I'm intrigued because, learning how to be competitive and control supply chain commissions through the whole process is important to other industries, especially in manufacturing, which
Right.
people have looked at that over the years. You've brought it to a healthcare services, what we're doing in supply chain.
Exactly. And what's really interesting, and so I produced a documentary, it's going to be out on Amazon Prime next year, and it's called It's Not Personal, It's Just Healthcare. And it's basically the story of exactly what I'm talking about. It's showing employers, HRs, and CFOs all the misalignments that exist within these health insurance plans, and basically how to, negotiate. And really your consultant should be doing this for you, but how to negotiate contracts that work in your favor, how to set up performance-based arrangements where, you're not losing and everyone else is winning. So this documentary shines a light on why the system is the way it is. And what's really interesting is you'll hear a lot of people, complain about the American healthcare system, and they'll say, oh, the system's broken, right? And employers, every year that they get this 10%, 15% increase, they've kind of just sat back and been like, well, this is something I can't control. But to your point, we've seen it done in manufacturing. We've seen it done in every other industry. Why can't it be done in healthcare? It's because it requires entrepreneurs and CFOs and HRs to think a little bit differently about the problem and try to solve the root cause of the problem, which gets me to kind of, broker compensation is just one thing. And that's sort of, I find to be like step one. Work with somebody who is incentivized to bring you real solutions, right? When you have that under control, the next thing that you need to do to lower costs long term and create like a financially sustainable program is to focus on the claims. Right? Everyone's focused on premium. Oh, well, my premium's going up 12% this year. So let me raise the deductible. Let me hop to another carrier. Let me add an HSA. All we're doing then is shifting risk to employees. We need to focus on the cost of claims, right? Because when your premium goes up, what does your broker tell you? Oh, you had a crappy year. You had a cancer. You had a NICU baby. You had a kidney dialysis. You had bad claims. Well, then why aren't we focused on the cost of those claims? Because here's what's the most interesting thing about healthcare. Happened last week. There's an employee, needs a skin graft, goes to the hospital. They charge him $80,000 for a skin graft, right? His out of pocket is $5,000. So the health plan, the business is paying the rest. 2 blocks down the road at an outpatient surgery center, same doctor, same surgery. We did it for $6,000. That's how you impact the cost of care. That's the cost of the claim. $80,000 at the hospital, $6,000, same doctor, same surgery, just 2 blocks down the road at a place that, isn't price gouging you essentially.
Well, I think the important thing you were saying there is you don't have to compromise doctors.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's for consumers, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for choice of medical care.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting though, Jeff, and I don't want to put you on the spot necessarily, but I do it myself. How are we making decisions on our healthcare, right? How do we know that surgeon, for example? Great. I'm glad that the employee got the same surgeon, but how do we know he's the best? There's no access to quality metrics in our health insurance system. The one that, we say is broken, but it's working exactly as it should. We can't access, we pick our doctors off maybe going on Google and seeing how their bedside manner is, or does our neighbor or our brother recommend them, right? But what are their readmission rates? We quite literally just had a situation where one of our owners was going in for surgery, and he called us and he said, hey, I need to go get a shoulder surgery. Can you check out my orthopedic surgeon? The plans that we build have full transparency, so we can access every piece of data on these physicians, on these hospitals, on everything. This doctor, this surgeon had 3 medical malpractice lawsuits. One was wrong surgery, wrong patient. And then the second one was the right surgery, the wrong limb on the right patient. And, this guy was shocked. This entrepreneur, he was absolutely shocked. He's like, oh man, my neighbor recommended him. My buddy recommended him. He's on the billboards. So here's the thing with healthcare, and it's unlike any other business. Bigger isn't better, right? Oftentimes, bigger means there's more misaligned incentives, more opaque business dealings. So there's really no correlation between the big hospital in your area offering the best care, and people just assume that, right?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. In another life, a long time ago, I won't mention the company right now. I worked for a Fortune 100 company in the surgical division. So I had to go to surgery at least twice a day, to work with surgeons. And one of the first things we were taught was those who do the most surgery, those with the bedside manner, aren't necessarily the best surgeons. So when I go for surgery, I have my own due diligence I do. And when everybody tells me they have a surgeon, I'm thinking oh, you like them. Liking has nothing to do with having good hands.
100%.
So I
100%.
agree
But
with you.
Thank
I've
you.
had a lot
And
of surgery. I've had a lot of surgery, and I'm very proud of the different surgeons that I've used. But I don't go through the same process everybody does. I don't read like Boston Magazine, Best of Boston. That's just not my favorite thing. In the little time we have left, Chelsea, give us a sense of your path to Ethos. What's your background, and how did you get there?
Well, I'm from Canada. I played Division One college softball on a scholarship, and it was my senior year. And I was supposed to go to med school. That was the plan. And I actually got hit in the head with a ball, and I ended up going back to play too soon and sustained another brain injury. So that was my first interaction with the American healthcare system. And I ended up needing to go back to Canada and do a brain injury rehab program. And I experienced what 1 in 12 Americans experience, which is medical debt, because those bills didn't care that I was in Canada. Those bills didn't care that I was 22 and couldn't work, right? They followed me. And it was terrifying being 22. I couldn't work. I had an obscene amount of symptoms, could barely hold a conversation. And I have $10,000 of bills that I have no idea where to even start. I didn't even know what a deductible was. So that was my first interaction. After that, I ended up transitioning into nonprofit once I healed a little bit better, thinking, okay, if I can't be a doctor, I'll save the world in nonprofit. From there, I raised a ton of money and asked for a raise one day. I was making 30 grand a year, asked for 33, and they said they'd send me a bonus check. And it was $10, the bonus check.
Wow.
So after that, I got into insurance because I'm like, well, here's another way to help people. And that's kind of the bones of the path that led me here.
I could talk to you for a much
I know.
time when we talked about it. And Chelsea, could you tell us how people could find you or the company if they're looking for it?
Sure. Ethos Benefits on LinkedIn, or Chelsea Ryckis. That's Ryckis, Ryckis. LinkedIn is probably the best. We're always on there. We're very active, and we're happy to help. Even if you are, you've got a relationship with your current broker and you're just looking for some ideas, I'm always happy to consult and help. I don't need anything in return. I really think that there's a better way to do this, and we've proven it over and over again. And I want small businesses, midsize and large, to succeed.
That's fine. Thank you for being on the show today. Chelsea, I hope you come back. Love to talk to you again. Remind everybody, this is Radio Entrepreneurs.